and what it means to love God. Our focus of our study is going to be on Harambam's Mishneh Torah, on his second book in his 14 of the Mishneh Torah. As a very quick introduction, Harambam's Mishneh Torah is composed of 14 major sections. He took the entire corpus of Torah Shebe'al Peh, knew it so well to reorganize it and re-articulate it in the most clear, concise, and organized way ever done in our history. In the past, we've studied Harambam's Sefer Mada, which is his first one, where he speaks about it's the book of knowledge, where he speaks about developing knowledge of God. Tonight, we're starting our series on Ahavat Hashem, Sefer Ahava, love, adoration, or devotion towards God. Now, firstly, the source that you have here is the opening that you see within all of Maimonides' manuscripts. It was taken out of the Vilna edition, but this is what you find. For example, this is a Yemenite manuscript, and you see the opening of it is the half a pasuk, B'Shem Hashem El Olam, in the name of God, the everlasting Lord, or the God of eternity, the God of the universe. And all of his works open up with this half line. His earlier works, for example, the commentary on the Mishnah, his later works, the Moreh Nevuchim, and also his letters. Some of his letters also had this as well. B'Shem Hashem El Olam. Now, this comes in the context of this week's Parasha. It's nice that it lines up so well, where Avraham Avinu has finished his interaction with Fichol Saris, with Avimelech and Fichol Sar Sivao. With Avimelech, who was one of the kings and the chief of his army. Imagine if a president and the chief of staff went to meet one of us or one of the Jews, right? Obviously, it's a very important encounter. And specifically went out for negotiations to ask for favor in Avraham Avinu's eyes. After that encounter, they make their agreement, and Avraham Avinu plants a tree, Vayta Eshel Be'er Shava, Vaikra Sham B'Shem Adonai El Olam. And he calls out in the name of God, as here this translation has it, the everlasting God, or the God of the universe. Now, what does that mean? One way of understanding this is simply that he was so happy for all that God had done for him. It's so incredible that he's reached so much success that armies are reaching out to find his allegiance, and that's all true. But Radak and also Harambam tell us that what's happening here is much more. Avraham Avinu was not just stating for himself, he was calling out as a proclamation to others. Look at my life. I was dedicated to God. And look at all of these scenarios. The scenario that we had of my nephew being taken by multiple armies, and God helped me win the battles and eventually the war to take back Lot. That I had my wife taken from me by Avimelech, this king, and God, you were with me, you protected her and brought her back to me with tremendous success and wealth. And so he told others, so too, just as I was, you should also be dedicated and committed to this God. Come, join me within this study. And so Harambam, I believe, viewed his works as continuing the legacy of Avraham Avinu, empowering us to help bring others into this commitment, love, and dedication of God. As we're going to see, Avraham Avinu is the only one that God calls Ohavi, my beloved, or the one who loves me. Avraham Avinu expressed this love by going out and telling everybody about God. It's that kind of love that you have where you just want to tell everybody. You come home and you say, I met the most incredible girl. Or if you're a girl, I met the most incredible guy. And you just can't stop talking about them. You want to let everybody know they're so incredible, they're so amazing. You're thinking about them all the time. You want everybody else to also experience that. That's the kind of love that we're talking about. That's the kind of love that Abraham Avinu experienced. And that's what Harambam wants to instill within us through his works and to empower us to do. So that's the opening that Harambam has for all of his works, as you see in this Yemenite manuscript that I have here. B'Shem Adonai El Olam. And you see the Aleph and the Lamed are kind of connected in the manuscripts. Also with the Hashem with the three yods. It's very interesting. It's old manuscripts. Okay. Next. Sorry for the jumpiness of the source sheet. This is also from a manuscript that was specifically signed by Harambam. And this is how the book opens. Sefer Sheni, book number 2. V'hu Sefer Ahava. This is the book of Ahava, love, adoration, devotion. And then he quotes a pasuk. Every one of the 14 books opens up with a pasuk, with a biblical, extending biblical into also from Tehillim, Psalms, also from Mishleh, throughout the Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim, throughout Tanakh. And here it continues. And if you just try to read what's enlarged here, it might be confusing because it doesn't read V'hu Sefer Ahava Ma, right? Because that wouldn't make any sense. It's V'hu Sefer Ahava. The mem he here is part of the pasuk of the continuation. And so it reads, Ma ahavti toratecha, kol hayom hi sihati. How much I love your Torah. I have it translated above here. How much I love your Torah. I speak about it all day long. What a beautiful pasuk to open up his book. And each one of the books opens up with a thematic pasuk for that entire book. Okay. I didn't look specifically how many chapters Sefer Ahava has, but it's probably within the 50 chapter range. This is the one pasuk encapsulating all of it. Unfortunately, in many of the more modern texts, like the Vilna printings, a lot of that is missing. So I bring it to you here from the manuscript. But newer printings, for example, as I was telling Sammy Shayo earlier today, for example, Mif'al Mishneh Torah, it does incorporate this from the manuscripts. And there are many others also in the past 50 years or so that have gone back to manuscripts and have reincorporated that which had existed in the signed manuscript, authenticated manuscripts of Maimonides. Okay. So let's dive into the Mishneh Torah. Now, in understanding Sefer Ahava, I want to first understand what Ahava is. So this is really an introductory class before we get into Kiryat Shema, because I want you to get a full picture of the book and what our studies will really be about. So many classes speak about the specifics of what to do for Kiryat Shema, or Tefillah, or for Berachot, or for Milah. I want to first give you the overarching idea of the entire book and what the major message here is. So I'm going to be pulling from some other sections. And throughout our classes, I'm going to be focusing on Harambam as a commentary upon himself. I'm not going to be pulling as much, or I'm going to try not to pull from other commentaries on Harambam, but I'm going to try to find other sources within Harambam that elucidate his own text. Okay, so here is from the first book, Sefer Mada, the end of it, Echot Teshuvah. And here he talks about Ahava. So how does he describe Ahava in Sefer Mada, Echot Teshuvah? And by the way, this is right before the opening of Sefer Ahava. This is the last chapter of the first book, entering into the second book. What's the appropriate type of ahava? Call it love, adoration, call it devotion, commitment. It's going to become more clear as we continue. When a person has a great love, always is like an inner strength, an inner desire, inner commitment. Until your soul and your mind is completely tied up, I'm going to use the word obsessed, with this ahava of Hashem. This is what I'm talking about, obsessed. Harambam utilizes the language here of you become lovesick. It becomes a complete obsession. All that you think about is God all the time. Right? Just like the example I brought before, and he brings the example too. And don't be surprised that Harambam is utilizing the love between a man and a woman, because this is exactly what Shir Hashirim does, as he mentions here. Through everything that you're doing, you're thinking about him and your relationship to him. Wow, that's a bit intimidating. I don't know if anybody else feels intimidated by reading that. If we continue on a little bit more, we find this not just within Harambam. We find this also, for example, throughout the Tanakh. This was the desire of David HaMelech in Tehillim. We recite this mizmor specifically on Sukkot. Ka'ayal ta'arog al fikemaim, ken nafshi ta'arog elecha Elohim. Sami'a nafshi Elohim le'achai matai avo vere'eh penei Elohim. Like, I want to say, like a deer, crying for water. My soul cries for you, O God. My soul thirsts for you, O God, the living God. Oh, when will I come to appear before my God? So when we're talking about all of these mitzvot in Sefer Ahava, Kriyat Shema, Tefillah, right? There's something internal. There's an actual real desire that has to be developed throughout all of this. And it continues also with the next pasuk from Tehillim. God, you are my God. I search for you. My soul thirsts for you. My body yearns for you as a parched and thirsty land that has no water. Same metaphor is used above. An animal that is bellowing out of thirst, out of a desire. I just want to have some water. It's when you finally hang up the phone of a girl that you, or a boy, depending on if you're a guy or a girl, that you really want to connect with. And you hang up the phone. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Finally, the phone hangs up. I want to talk to them again. I want to know more about them. That was such an incredible date. I want to know more. That's what we're talking about. So this is really important when we talk about what the reward is, right? So you see, David HaMelech is thirsty for this relationship with God. And we talk about Olam Haba, right? What is the ultimate reward? What is it that really we should be striving for? Now, there's kind of a tension, because if you open up the Torah, if you read within the Torah, you find, what does God say? You'll have rain in its proper time. The land will produce its fruit. You won't have any barren women. There won't be war. Life will physically be good for us. But Harambam makes clear that is not the ultimate reward. That is just God helping us to clear some focus, to go on another date with him, to spend more time with him, to focus on him, to ask him more questions, to learn more about him. And so you see here the ultimate reward in Harambam, laws of repentance, Echot Teshuvah, Shudi'im u'masigin me'amitat HaKadosh Baruch Hu ma she'enam yodim behem b'guf ha'afer ha'sheker. What are we looking for? We're looking to finally be able to fully appreciate everything that we've learned about God. Harambam articulates that, unfortunately, this is in Halakha, but it's very long, so I just cut to the chase here and we explain it verbally. With our physical bodies, we are intellectually limited from understanding that which is abstract and not bound by the physical. God is the creator of all that which is material, but he is not that which is physical or material. So it's extremely hard for understand that God is outside the bounds of space and time. What in the world does that mean? And even if I'm going to talk about the realm of space and time, let's go through a basic walkthrough. So we're talking about now the elections, right? So how many people are there in the US? 350 million, right? So I think about how many people I could mentally, intellectually grasp within my mind. I could think about a sports arena, maybe 50,000 people. 100,000 people is pushing it. I talk about New York with millions of people. I have no way of my mind of comprehend what a vision of 1 million, 10 million, 15 million people looks like. Anybody here, raise your hand. Could you imagine with your mind what 15 million people looks like? Nobody. Now there's 350 million plus people in the United States alone. Expand that out to the Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere. The entire world, you're talking about 1.7 billion people. That's just the number. I have no idea what that means. We have 8 or 9 planets within our solar system. Forget, I can't even understand the humanity. Then we talk about Earth. I mean, I've seen pictures, but can I really grasp what that means? And then planets that are way larger than it at exorbitant distances that we have not yet reached as humanity yet. 8 or 9 planets. I should definitely review this. I don't remember by heart how many solar systems there are in our galaxy. Anybody know off the top of their head? I don't remember, but there's a lot. And then of those solar systems within our galaxy, right? That's already a lot. How many galaxies are there? I remember a number of 100 or 200 billion galaxies. Now, beyond all of that is God. It's not even mind-boggling. It's beyond. Anybody here read the book Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? The book, not the movie. The movie was good too, but didn't have this scene.
Yes, I read it.
Awesome, Dad. So you remember the punishment where you had to gain perspective of yourself and the universe?
No.
Okay, so you got to reread it. I got to find it. Unbelievable. One of the punishments was gaining perspective of yourself in the context of the universe. When you recognize that you are not even star dust. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. Now, what is Olam Haba? It's that whatever I've been able to develop within this world allows me to get much closer and to gain some understanding without the limitations of my physical limitations, which are I'm not able to understand that which is outside the bounds of space and time. So one of the ways that was explained to me, this was by Rabbi Harold Sutton, I like to quote him because it was his example. In this world, we develop knowledge of God and thereby are developing, let's say, a spoon or a pail or a bath or a pool to be able to collect the water that represents the relationship of God. Now, let me say that again so it's more clear. God is unchanging. So you have to imagine now, if we're going to utilize this metaphor, that it's raining equally everywhere. And so it's up to you of what you've developed within this world about how much of that relationship you can enjoy. And that's all based on how much you have developed here. So if it was only a spoon, that's as much of the relationship that you could benefit from. If it was a cup, that's as much. If it's a pail, if it's a bath, if it's a pool, that's up to you. But the ultimate enjoyment is being able to bask within his glory with the amount of knowledge of him that you have developed within this world. And now, so what David HaMelech is describing is that great love to know more about him. I'm talking about David HaMelech, who, he was a king. I mean, he had a lot in his life. Now, he was missing a lot. He had a lot of troubles, but his ultimate of what he's really striving for is this relationship with God. It's tremendous. Let's continue. Now, this desire is supposed to become so great that you are not driven by anything else, but only your desire to have a relationship with him. Now, there's nothing else that matters to you. It's the desire to do something for somebody, regardless of what it is that they can give you. Even if they would put $100,000 on the table, it would not matter because you just want to do for them. You want them to tell you what it is that they want you to do for them, or what it is that they need. Please tell me what it is that I could do for you. I will do anything to serve you, and that's what we mean by love. The desire to do for the other, which is diametrically opposed to the way that we understand love in our modern day society. And if you've been to my classes before, you know this. Love in our modern day society colloquially is understood as that which makes me feel good, I love, right? The famous story that's quoted by Rabbi Dr. Twersky over and over again, fish love. Anybody heard that story? No? Okay.
Yes, I heard it. I know it.
Yes, it's a great story. It's really an awesome story.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Rabbi Laniado.
Amazing story, where this rabbi is sitting with this young man, and he sees this young man devouring this fish. Rabbi asks him, "Do you love this fish?" No, what did he say? He said, no, I forgot the story. I forgot the first question he asked him. I think it was like, why are you eating? I forgot what it was, but he said something, why do you love the fish, right? No, I forgot it. Marceline, you want to tell the story? I forgot it.
Sure. I mean, well, I don't, basically it's just, if I remember correctly, the yeshiva student is kind of he's just kind of like shoving his face, like with fish. And then the rabbi says, why are you, what are you doing? And the young man says, oh, I just love fish. And the rabbi's like, well, if you really loved it, you wouldn't be, you would respect it. You would be like caring. You wouldn't be just like mindlessly kind of like eating it and gorging yourself on it. That's not really what love is, basically. I don't know if that's right.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. So
yeah, he says you love yourself, not fish.
Exactly.
That's right.
Zinger at the end of that.
Yeah, if you really love the fish, you'd let it swim in the ocean with the rest of its family. Why'd you take the fish out of the ocean, kill it, cook it, and eat it? You don't love the fish, you love how the fish makes you feel. And that's why it's so easy to fall in and out of love, because it all depends on how it makes you feel at that moment. Right? It's mostly based on sensory pleasure. This is something which is a little bit different. This is more of intellectual desire for connection with another. The more you learn, as we're going to see in a second, the more you learn about God, about who he is, the more you want to understand more. The more you want to be committed. So that's what we're going to see. Oopsies, second. Here. So this is also Harambam in Ilchot Teshuvah, and he talks about the mitzvah ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha. It's a mitzvah in the Torah, it's a biblical commandment to love God, to be committed to him. Now, we've spoken a lot about this, but how does one develop love for God? How does one develop this yearning to connect with him? Rabbi, I don't connect with God. I don't know what you're talking about. So it's not so simple, and hopefully we'll be opening this up and developing this more over time. But what he describes here is that it's a journey. And true ahava, the desire that David HaMelech spoke about, is not something that everybody achieved. And even the greatest of the hachamim, the greatest of the rabbis, many of them did not fully achieve the level where they did the mitzvot solely and absolutely because out of a desire to serve him. Harambam describes this as the destination, but recognizes the difficulty in reaching that place. And so he says this is really a life's work. What is the way for somebody to develop this love? And I'm going to say this awe of God. This is through the intellect. This is not through sensorial pleasure, which is as per the love or lust that we had spoken about before in our modern day culture. This is much more through the intellect, through the rational faculty, through developing knowledge, through sitting with the other party and asking them about what they are about, understanding what it is that they have done in their lives, what they have written, what they have created, what they stand for, what they're all about. And so with God, he says, focus on the actions and what it is that God has done. Ubru'av, and his creations. Haniflaim hagidolim, which are wondrous and great. And when you start looking into these things, you start reading some of the other parties' literature, the Torah. You start looking at what it is that they're involved in, the Hesed, how they help other people. And God is all about Hesed. All the 13 midot that we're supposed to represent as a Jewish people are all the way God behaves. And through studying God's world, we come to a knowledge of all of that. So here's the key. You see within this, and even from a very basic standpoint, you understand the way that a flower functions with photosynthesis, or you understand the way that an ecosystem functions. You're blown away. When you look at even, and this is way beyond me, but the little bit that I understand about the Big Bang Theory, very simple. Put God before that and describe it as a natural process of God's creation. I say, wow, that's incredible. We can't even dream of doing any of that as humans. How about creating an eye? Do you even have the capability of the creation of an eye? We've been in existence, at least according to our Torah, 700 years, right? It's a pretty long time. Pretty long time. We still cannot create a robot or anything that has even remotely the capabilities that we have as human beings, such as our fine functioning. That type of understanding of what he has done, his creations, should bring us into awe of his great and wondrous wisdom. You could go into a very micro level. We recently discovered atoms, subatomic particles, quarks, quantum physics, all mind-blowing. And how it all comes together, that's him. And then you take it to the macro level, as I described before. 100, 200 billion galaxies. And he's the creator of all. That should infuse within us a desire to want to learn more and a desire to connect to that creator who's put us on this earth, even in the grand scope of all of this, and has decided to talk to us and said, you are important. You have a mission. You have a purpose. But it's up to you to create the meaning within your own life. It's very powerful. All of this comes with our going out to discover. Now, like I said before, Harambam utilizes Avraham Avinu as this example. And as the Midrash describes, Avraham Avinu came to his understanding of God in an environment that was very disconnected from God. Because, to use fancy psychological terms, they projected onto the world. That's idol worship. They created this mythology. They created these stories about how the world functioned and worked. Harambam didn't do that. Harambam did the reverse. He said, I'm not going to assume anything. I'm going to start by asking questions. And through inquiry, he started to recognize that there is a creator of all of this that is allowing for its continuous functioning. And the more he learned, the more he delved deeper into this, the more he asked questions, the more he wanted to learn. And he wanted to go out on another date with God, and another, and another, and another, until he became so overwhelmed with this relationship that he's developed through inquiring and learning that he had, as we opened up, Vayikra Shem b'Shem Adonai El Olam. He had to call out to everybody and tell everybody, you got to learn about this God. He is absolutely incredible. Look at all of the things that he has done. Look at my life. Please enter into learning about him and also developing a relationship. Harabam also describes this within the Moreh Nevuchim and describes that God in his Torah does not lay out all of this. Our Torah starts Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, right? In the beginning of God's creation, right? It's actually not so simple how you translate the beginning of that, but initially we don't learn about God. All we know is that he created the world, but besides that, we don't know anything. So the Torah does not give us this background of philosophy. It gives us general ideas and general principles. God is creator. We don't even really know so much about the creation as the Ramban points out within the Chumash. Even if you're going to say that it's a full day, well, what is a day? Erev Boker? Does a day go from night to morning? From night to morning is 12 hours, if we're talking about our modern day system, right? Maybe it's a cycle, right? What exactly is it talking about? How does that function? We don't really learn exactly about creation. But what we do learn is that God is the creator. The rest of the story is up to you to come and discover. And that's what Harabam says here. All of this is given in the form of final results. That God created X. Doesn't really tell me how, or really specifically when. But they cannot be understood fully and accurately except at the acquisition of many kinds of knowledge. So it takes work. Love takes work. Right? I'm sorry to tell you, it doesn't just happen. We don't fall in love. Falling in love is a misnomer. It takes work. It takes work to desire, to create the desire to learn about somebody else. And so to hear with God. Putting in that work to unpack all of this. To learn about God's creations, to learn about him through his literature, to learn about him through history. What is he all about? And let's go to the end here. We have already shown in the Mishneh Torah, yes, it's really Yesodei HaTorah, that this love is only possible when we comprehend the real nature of things. So right after Harambam in the Mishneh Torah, as we quoted above, states that it's a mitzvah to love God, it then goes into, the Greek science of his time, to essentially state within a book of law, the Mishneh Torah, you need to study science if you want to have knowledge of him as creator. You have to be willing to read what it is that your party writes, what they create, to learn about how their day really was, to ask them questions. The same way it's not good to go home and just start blurting out how our day was, because we won't learn anything about the other person, and that's really just about ourselves and not the other. So too with God. We should flip the narrative and stop asking God, where are you? The question is, where are we? Are we asking the questions to learn about him? That this love is only possible to comprehend the real nature of things. We have to discover and study science. We have to study truth as per the Torah and his writings, and understand the divine wisdom displayed therein. We have likewise mentioned there what our sages remark on the subject, right, as we said before. And that is specifically why Harambam structured his work to start off with Sefer Mada. Because Sefer Mada, the book of knowledge, starts off with the knowledge of a basic concept of what we mean when we say God. And that's not our study for this series this year, but I definitely do suggest starting to go through Sefer Mada as well and look at the subjects that it discusses. It's extremely deep. And just as Harambam mentions there, I think it's the end of the 3rd chapter and 4th chapter, it's just a drop in the bucket of what we really should be striving to learn about him. But he first opens up in Sefer Rishon, which I have here. I'm going to first give you the foundations of our religion, of our law. Know what he says? First, you have to know Sefer Mada. There's a reason why the Torah starts off Bereshit bara Elohim. Because the truth is that there is a premise and a start here. And that's the start that God is creator. Start from there and start to unpack all of that. Rabbi Yosef Kafi notes that he calls his first book Yesodei HaTorah, the foundation of Torah, and not Emunat HaTorah. He doesn't call it that which is faith. He articulates it as that which is foundational. This is where you need to start. Start here, discovering knowledge of me. Now, there's a lot to talk about around this. We talk about ritual in particular. I see it's 8:40, and I want to stay true to the clock. So I will start rounding this up. But there's a lot here that we will unpack throughout the series. But you see very clearly, that's the starting point. It's the foundation. It's the Yesodei HaTorah, foundations of the Torah. What it means that God is unique within his uniqueness, as we'll discuss when we discuss Shema. The Isur Avodah Zarah, and what Avodah Zarah means, which I mentioned before, projecting onto the world, creating a false reality in front of us, seeing the world not as it actually is, but as we imagine it to be. There's a lot there to discuss. I see some people smiling. It's not such a simple topic, but a wonderful one. And then Sefer Sheni, where we are now. I'm going to lay out for you those mitzvot which are frequent. In order that he instructs us, giving us the ability to express our, this is where I said commitment, because it's through action, our ahava of him, and to recall him and remember him and recognize him regularly. Now, if you've gone through Sefer Mada, you've developed somewhat of a knowledge of God through your life. Hopefully your parents have imparted it to you. You also through Jewish education, also through your life experiences. But sometimes in life we forget and we get caught up in so many other things. So when you wake up in the morning, you recite, and we're going to discuss this next week, some of the most powerful statements of the Torah about God and his mitzvot. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. And you remember, you get back on track in that relationship. You walk out of the room, you see and possibly kiss, I don't know, during COVID, the mezuzah. And you remember that which is inside it, which recalls the relationship that you have been developing. The tzitzit that you're wearing. If you're a male, and milah also. All these mitzvot and tefillin and tefillah are all meant to help re-ground us again, to keep us focused on that relationship and that which is most important, connecting with our Creator. Oops. I wanted to show this to you from the manuscript because I thought it was really awesome. And I want to show you that the manuscripts that I've been showing you tonight were specifically signed by Maimonides himself. And you see here his signature, Hora Misifri, right? I have gone through this book letter by letter to make sure that it's exactly like mine. I, Moshe Beribi Maimon, the son of the Rabbi Maimon. So in our study, we're going to be utilizing these manuscripts to understand Harambam and Sefer Ahava. To conclude tonight's learning, for the love of God introduction, love of God is the desire to connect with the Creator of the world, to learn about Him, to be devoted to Him, to be absolutely obsessed with being around Him and learning about Him all the time. And so through all these mitzvot, as we see from the manuscript, Echot Kiryat Shema, which we will be learning, and Echot Tefillah, which we will also be learning in great depth, we come to develop further this love for God. And I open up to any questions or thoughts.
Wow, that was very beautiful.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Rabbi, it's Richard.
Hey, Richard.
Terrific introduction. I appreciate everything you said. And a lot of it seems to just coincide with the paragraphs of Shema.
Yes, exactly right.
You know, and you know, that it seems to be like, you know, a direct overlay in some respects.
100%. And that's specifically what we're going to get into next week. Why those 3 paragraphs are chosen to be recited twice every day. Because they contain these very ideas.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important in these classes to really unpack what does the word Shema mean? What does Yud Kei Vav Kei mean? What do you mean by Eloheinu? What do we mean by Ehad? Each one of these terms have to really be unpacked because it's so much at the core of what we need to know.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Terrific. Thank you.
Good. Everybody's good for tonight. Good. Everybody here definitely showed a devotion to God coming out here with the elections. Yeah, I'm sure everybody's a little anxious about what the results are going to be. Don't worry.
This is better. This is better to
Yes, I
do
agree.
this.
I agree.
So I'll see you guys next week, 8 o'clock. Have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
Thank you, Rabbi.